from your isolation station. It's Tom Campbell here from station 24601. And as the United Kingdom goes into insert TNA pay-per-view name here, you know the one. Wrestling is still going on, amazingly. So here is some headlines. We have an update on a planned WrestleMania 36 match. We have details on some of Bray Wyatt's pitches for his match with John Cena at WrestleMania 36. And which NXT superstar would Edge like to wrestle? Find out who in a little while. A week on Saturday, WrestleMania arrives in whatever shape and form it's going to take. In fact, this particular week, WWE are getting everything in the can for the next week or so. Raws, SmackDowns, NXTs, the Raw after WrestleMania. WrestleMania itself is getting recorded as well. One match which we could see happening at WrestleMania will settle the score between Otis and Dolph Ziggler. The fight for the love of Mandy comes to a head on the grandest stage of them all. This was meant to be a 6-person tag team match. It was mentioned several times by Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer that was going to be the case, with Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, and a third person taking on Heavy Machinery, and a third person, Mandy, falling on one side of those teams, depending on how the story pans out. But Robert Roode is now unable to get into America as a result of the flight bans from Canada. So Robert Roode is not going to be a part of WrestleMania 36. However, we understand that this will still play out in some way, shape or form, and we're probably looking at seeing Otis versus Dolph Ziggler one-on-one instead. And because of the nature of WrestleMania this year, this could be fun. They could have some real fun with this. They could really change it up and, you know, maybe have Mandy locked in the catacombs of the building and they have to fight to go and find her, like a reverse boiler room brawl match. Or put her in a shark cage above the ring and digitize some actual sharks in. I don't know why WWE haven't hired me, to be perfectly honest. I think I'd be brilliant on their writing team. Speaking of WrestleMania, John Cena versus The Fiend Bray Wyatt is going to be an absolute barnstormer when we get there. I'm very intrigued to see how this plays out. It was mentioned here on the news a couple of days ago, thanks to a tweet from the Gorilla Position, that this match won't be set in the Performance Center. It could very well be ending up being set in a warehouse just outside of it, in sort of a House of Horrors style affair. They want to make it out like it's like a short movie type thing as opposed to an actual wrestling match. Wrestle Talk have confirmed that this is exactly what is going to happen, and Wrestle Talk have also confirmed that Bray Wyatt has pitched for both The Fiend and Bray Wyatt to be a part of the match. So this could be quite the intriguing affair now. So you have the match in the warehouse, for argument's sake. And one of the things that Bray Wyatt has pitched is that during this match that John Cena is having with The Fiend in this horrifying building, you suddenly have John Cena stumble upon the Firefly Funhouse, and there's Bray Wyatt, like just chilling there. Maybe he interacts with John Cena and then The Fiend comes out of nowhere. This is the fun that you can have when you're pre-taping WrestleMania. They're really keen to do loads of stuff like this at WrestleMania because they don't want to just film an empty arena for multiple hours over a weekend. So they're trying everything they can to make these matches feel a little bit different, a little bit special. And this is one of the things that they're attempting to do in order to make that happen. I'm excited by the idea of this match featuring both The Fiend and cuddly jumper Bray Wyatt. Oh, this WrestleMania is just going to be a hot mess, isn't it? It's going to be an absolute hot mess. You know what? I'm living for it. I'm absolutely living for it. Impact Wrestling news now, and they're kind of the last company to declare this, but all their shows for April, including Against All Odds in Canada, including Rebellion in New York, and their sets of TV tapings as well, have all been cancelled or postponed or rescheduled indefinitely. No dates have been announced yet for Impact Wrestling. We kind of thought this was the way it was going, but because Impact have so much stuff in the can, there was the thought that maybe, just maybe, they might get to a point where they can they get to the end of this and things might be clearing up and they can carry on as normal, but that's absolutely not going to be the case. Impact put out a tweet and mentioned all of this, and in a press statement as well, they've talked about it, and they've said that they're looking for more creative ways to continue producing Impact Wrestling content, and we've just talked about one of the more creative ways that wrestling is happening in the next couple of weeks, and if anybody else is going to be doing crazy, wacky stuff like this over the next few weeks, I think it could be Impact Wrestling. This is the company that gave us the final deletion of all things and the expedition for gold with the Hardy Boys. Of course, that is like primarily driven by the creativity of a couple of people, but Impact Wrestling have their minds open to doing some really fun stuff. And I think if anybody's going to stand out during these times of empty arena shows, it could very well be Impact Wrestling. I mean, I don't put it past Impact at all to have a wrestling show in a parking lot surrounded by cars and fire. Feel like that would suit them quite nicely. So how is Vincent Kennedy McMahon keeping the WWE ticking over during these very weird times? There was a Form 8K filed by the WWE the other day to the Securities and Exchange Commission. So there's a bit of jargon here. So if you do get bored, just follow the mug. The variable prepaid forward contract is scheduled to settle on specified dates in March 2024, at which time the actual number of shares of the company's Class A common stock to be delivered by Mr. McMahon will be determined based on the price of the company's Class A common stock on such date, with the aggregate number not to exceed approximately 3.5 million shares, which is the number of shares of Class B common stock pledged by Mr. McMahon to secure his obligations under the contract. Subject to certain conditions, Mr. McMahon can also elect to settle the variable prepaid forward contract in exchange for cash and thereby retain full ownership of the pledged shares. In short, Vince McMahon is putting a lot of his money on hold, selling off a couple of shares in order to keep the company as liquid as possible, just to keep everything flowing, basically. And I kind of don't blame him, because WrestleMania is normally that key point in the year where WWE make all their money, and they're not making any money this year. Well, certainly nowhere near the number they were going to make on the gate at Raymond James Stadium. Also, a little interesting note is at the very bottom of this Form 8K, it says that Vincent Kennedy McMahon will be running the company for a good while longer. So for anybody who is wondering whether Vince McMahon is going away, this following statement should put paid to it. Mr. McMahon has informed us that he intends to continue in his capacity as the company's chairman and chief executive officer for the foreseeable future. Vince McMahon is riding the waves of uncertainty in his boat. He ain't getting off the boat now that the tides are getting rough. This is the guy that lived through the New Generation era. It's the guy that made the New Generation era. It's just another rocky night on the waters for Vince McMahon, I'm sure. And finalement, on this day, I see clearly. Not my words, the words of somebody leaving their apartment after 2 weeks of self-isolation. And the words of Adam Edge Copeland, who was on a conference call for WrestleMania 36 just the other day. And he was asked the question about whether there's anybody from NXT that he's a big fan of. And Edge was glowing when it came to NXT. He said, obviously, Tommaso Ciampa and I have a very close relationship since we're both neck guys, for lack of a better term. So he's picking his brain a lot, and I love it too, because he cares a lot and he tries the ideas out. I love Gargano. To me, the guy who is dialed up and completely found what he's supposed to do is Finn Balor. It's exciting to watch him right now. So Edge is praising several people, but one in particular stands out to Edge, and that is our boy, yours and my boy Ross, I miss you, Keith Lee. Edge says the following: Keith Lee is so impressive. I'd love to be able to get in the ring with that guy and just show him exactly what he is and how he can be. I love seeing so many WWE guys showing the love for Keith Lee. Makes me so happy. Like, Keith Lee is such a boy, and to see the world showing their love for Keith Lee every chance they get, it's absolutely wonderful. It fills my soul. And if you don't fancy having your soul filled, how about filling up your glass? AEW Dynamite tonight are offering a drinking game. I wanted to give this a little mention right now because Cody Rhodes is on commentary tonight for AEW Dynamite. And he's got like a weird little twitch that he does whenever he's on commentary. And AEW have put out the following tweet. PSA, Cody Rhodes is hopping on commentary during Dynamite and we're going to play a drinking game. The rules are simple. Every time Cody says, wait a minute, during commentary, take a drink. If Cody says, wait a minute more than once in a row, chug for 5 seconds. It's going to be a lot of drunk people watching AEW tonight. One of those people that will be drunk tonight is our very own Adam Pacitti. He will be live streaming AEW Dynamite reaction, so you can watch along with him. And he's going to take part in the drinking game as well. So I hope he's topped up on beers, because apparently Cody's really bad for saying it. YouTube.com/Cultaholic/live if you want to watch Adam Pacitti slowly get drunk on a Wednesday night. We're in lockdown. What else is there to do? Stay safe. Love you. Bye.